Now, we can do this. Yes, we can. Okay, so we're going to start by setting some context. So, welcome to Regenerative Revolution. This is the very first episode, so bear with us as we try to figure out what the heck we're doing. So, we are on the live streaming platform Twitch, but I'm going to take the recording of this and edit it a little bit and then put it on YouTube to share with some other people. I have a kitten who is very adamant wanting to get on me right now, so sorry about that. But Twitch is wonderful because it's mainly used for people streaming playing video games, which means that there's cats. That means that people are sitting there like eating sandwiches or watching movies and just sitting there with a webcam on them for hours at a time, really just not doing anything. So there's not like really high expectations for us to do everything perfectly, like there might be in some sort of like a recording kind of situation where there's a lot of pressure on you to be performing. So I'm hoping that will work to our advantage so we can just have a conversation with each other and be like people. But generally I do business consulting. And I specialize with community organizations, but there's a big problem with that. Most people who are trying to start community organizations don't have a lot of money, especially when they're starting out. So they can't, pay me like $10,000, which is what it would cost to work with me for a solid year, like helping them do everything. So I tried to figure out how I can work with community organizers without them paying me, and I came up with the solution of live streaming it and putting it up online and then trying to get patrons to pay me to do it. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish here. As for the context of this conversation, this is our very first conversation. I have not talked to David yet at all, or hardly at all. I had him fill out an application, so I have a little bit of information. So I don't know what I'm in for. We're going to dive into David's project and see what his idea is and what he's got going on, and we'll see if we're a good fit to continue working together. And if so, we'll continue working together, at least as far as building a business model for him, so he has things in writing as far as what he's trying to do that he could use to do fundraising, to get other people involved. He'll have these videos that he could maybe use as material to post online to get more people interested. We could do some fundraising while we're doing the live streaming and get people to, pledge as we're talking and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to try to do. But this is our very first kind of introductory conversation to gather the basic information. So we've got an audience. We actually have 2 viewers right now. Hello, viewers. So I have a mod in our chat room who's going to keep an eye on things. As you can see, as our audience, we've got David's bio and a brief description of his project, what he's given me so far on the left. And on the right, we've got the questions that I'm about to ask him, and I'm going to be typing in there the answers. He can't see this because I want him to focus on just answering the questions. So if the audience has any questions, then you can there's a question app underneath the video that you can click in and you can ask us a question. You can see questions that other people have asked and upvote or downvote them. So throughout this, after we answer a few questions, I'll look down and see if anybody has any questions. I'll try to keep an eye on that and answer your questions. And also at periods where it seems appropriate, I'll kind of turn to the audience and say, what do you guys think? David can do the same thing if he wants the audience's input, and you guys can let us know in the chat room if you have anything to say, or you can just say stuff in the chat room. I can see it, but I'm not probably going to be able to respond to everything right away. So that's what we're going to be doing. David, do you have any questions?
No, I'm interested in seeing how it works.
Awesome. Great. Okay, cool. So I've got my notes here. Please excuse my clickety-clackety keyboard. Okay, so my first question is just to ask you to describe your project or your organization in maybe a little bit more detail than you've given us here, maybe in a little bit more practical terms, like, how big is it? What have you done so far? Maybe let's keep it to like about 3 to 5 minute description, if you could.
Okay, sure. The Living Systems Institute became a 501c3 in 2003, I think. And we work with trying to improve our relationship with the living things around us. The main problem with trying to create a sustainable society is that we are interfering with nature's processes. And we call what we're trying to accomplish, from the one perspective, we would call that carbon cycling, which instead of sending off a bunch of stuff to the landfill, we want to reuse those carbon molecules on site and build fertility in our processes instead of deplete organic matter and have it bring in nutrients in order to grow food and other things. Mm-hmm. So that's from the ecology perspective, is carbon cycling is our focus.
Okay.
When we're talking about providing for human needs, we call it integrated closed loop production systems, because if we can close our production loops, we're producing everything that we need as a part of the production process, then we have no operating cost. If we can use all of the byproducts of every process in another process, then and integrate all our processes, then we have no waste. And that no cost, no waste would be the essence of a sustainable pattern of interactions. Mm-hmm. And of course, from where we are right now, we don't want to just sustain the earth at the level humans have brought it to. We want to regenerate things, mm-hmm. Which is, if we can work with those carbon cycling processes, nature will build resources into itself every cycle. And we want to tap into those resources. Mm-hmm. And become a part of those processes instead of always fighting with nature. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I can ramble on if you'd like me to.
Well, I'd like a little bit more practical, like what are some projects you've already done and what are you working on right now?
Well, we build deep mulch gardens, mm-hmm. Which is a combination of a sheet mulch, if you're familiar with permaculture,
yes,
or hugelcultures.
Yeah.
And we call them actually a hugel mulch, because it's kind of a combination of those two. What you want to use is, we want to use all the materials generated on site and put it back into the garden as part of the carbon cycle.
How do you spell hugelculture? I forgot. It's something weird.
It's U with an umlaut.
Oh.
You have to say it in German.
Sure.
G-E-L, Hugel, culture, K-U-L.
Okay.
We were the founders of the Be Safe Neighborhood program, which, we have Be Safe neighborhoods all over the country right now. And that's about, bees, pollinators are like an entry-level understanding of our, that we need to have a positive relationship with the living things around us. Mm-hmm. So if you had 75 neighbors that agree not to use any systemic poisons so that they're not poisoning the bees, then we would certify you as a Be Safe neighborhood. Our more current project is called the Cook and the Gardener program, or partnership. Mm-hmm. And what we're trying to do is tap into that unrealized potential that we have in our neighborhoods, because we're not cycling carbon. Mm-hmm. And that's the human and biological potential, mm-hmm. that is wasted because we don't have a healthy relationship with mm-hmm. the living things around us.
Okay. And who are, well, I guess this kind of leads to the next question. So about that project in particular, like where are you at? What's your focus? What are you working on with it right now?
Okay, so the Cook and the Gardener program, right now we're working on the gardener part, which we would like to assist a typical homeowner who is concerned about the climate change or species loss or food shortages or any number of things that were a result of the way we treat the earth. Mm-hmm. And we'd like to help them change from the old-fashioned resource-intensive landscaping that most of us are experiencing, and start them on carbon cycling, start them So the basic program is that a gardener would charge $100 a month and spend 4 hours every month helping the homeowner. Excuse me. Helping the homeowner cycle the carbon that they're generating on site, and building gardens and producing fertility out of what generally goes to the landfill in typical homeowners landscape. Now, if we can get those, so if a gardener had 20 clients and they were paying $100 a month, then that's $2,000 a month for half-time work. And if you had those 20 clients, you would also have an opportunity producing a lot of food. And if we can then start using that food to prepare meals, both for the gardeners and for the people cooking the meals and for the public, then we have a second stream of revenue based on using what we can produce right here in our community.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to throw out ideas. It's just that I've thought through this. Like, I was just thinking about doing almost this exact same thing like last week before you even contacted me, or week before last. And I thought through the whole thing. And so I'm like really curious as to why you're wanting to produce that food for cooks instead of just doing it as a CSA for the homeowners who are already paying you and just charge them $200 a month and give them food.
Well, so everything is flexible. I mean, you can always adjust the program based on how it's needed. But what we would be doing with that other half-time would be building greenhouses and chicken coops and other ways that we can do the integrated closed-loop production systems.
Sure.
We've been just and increase the amount of food being, and it would also be, it would be a partnership with the homeowner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I just imagine they would probably want the food. I mean, it's in their yard, so they would want to just be able to walk out and eat some of the food. And like, you might as well just give them a box of what's growing in everybody else's yard, plus whatever, like eggs or something you might produce somewhere else, and just charge them, for gardening and food.
Well, that's a possibility. I'm not saying that you wouldn't want to do it that way.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that if we as a community are employing our yards to produce protein and fresh vegetables year round, then we can have an abundance and an excess that then we need to find an outlet for. And so that's where the cook comes in.
Yeah.
Is to take that excess produce and turn it into a revenue stream. Yeah,
there might be excess. And I was thinking, when I was thinking it through, I would be partnering with the local grocery store, The Earth, and which I'm doing community gardening behind right now, and would probably use that as the location for like the materials and stuff. Would be like our home location, and there's a fly on me, and then any excess would be sold through them, maybe on consignment or something. So yeah, I get that there might be excess as well. That makes sense. Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, like minds think alike, right?
Great minds.
Yeah. We're on the same page. I really appreciate what you're trying to do. Okay, so you said you're currently looking for the gardeners, right? That's what you're needing.
Well, we're in. So I've been talking about the Cook and Gardener program for maybe a couple years now. And because we do have the two gardeners actually experimenting how it's going to work and what kind of services the clients are going to expect. And we're at a point where we're a chicken and egg situation where if we had homeowners, we could find gardeners, and if we had gardeners, we could find homeowners. So that's our the point of effort or struggle, or where we're still trying to figure things out, is how do we take it to that next step and actually start we have to reach the homeowner that is concerned about the future and understands how their current landscaping is contributing to the non-sustainability, and then be able to offer them something that's going to work with them. as opposed to a full-blown permaculture design and installation. We're just going to use the slow and small solutions to take the resources as they're developed on site and convert them into fertility for both the homeowner and the garden.
Cool. For some reason, my notes document is like not loading correctly. I don't know why. Okay, maybe it's done being weird now. Okay, sorry. Technology, still figuring it out. It's being a little distracting. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so you're in a chicken or the egg situation, gardeners and homeowners. You're in Denver, and you've got like the Denver Permaculture Guild there, so you've got maybe a good source for like permaculture gardeners. Like where I am here, you'd be hard pressed to find more than one or two people who would even know how to do carbon cycling, who wouldn't just grab the chemicals. So do you have a good like stream of people you could approach, or is it a little tough to find potential gardeners?
No, we have fairly dynamic community here, and we have been given tours of our gardens and our experiments going back 11 years now, I think. And so we have been able to build up a number of relationships with people who are understanding what we're trying to accomplish and also doing the experimentation. The problem is, even within the permaculture community, you will get issues like, what is this bug and how do I kill it? Which is antithetical to what we're trying to accomplish.
Right. So, I mean, when I thought this through, I was thinking about doing a certification course, a regenerative gardening certification course. Because, there's the permaculture course, but maybe like have one specifically for doing what we're doing and like have everybody take, go through it before they'd be allowed to be one of the gardeners. So, I don't know. That's just what I had thought about doing. Then you could make sure everybody's on the same page. Plus, also training people on how to like interact with the homeowners and stuff like that. Like it'd be almost like an employee training or something.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we would set up the cook and the gardener as strictly gardener and cook owned, and that they would make all those decisions, and we would just be assisting them in terms of how they develop the business and the policies and policies and procedures that they would need to develop as they go along.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Okay, so next question is, how are you feeling about your project right now? Like, are you excited? Are you frustrated? Where are you at?
Okay, so I'm excited in terms of the results we're being able to show. We posted a discussion on the Denver Permaculture discussion group, Facebook group, showing some pictures of things that people consider to be beautiful in a traditional landscape compared to what we consider to be beautiful because the plants are thriving, right? And it's the difference between controlling what is going on in the garden or cooperating with nature's processes and having nature do that work for us. And it looks wild to some people.
Yeah, totally.
It's that cultural norm that we need to change if we're going to heal nature and produce abundance and pull carbon out of the atmosphere. And if we can find a way for people to contribute to our society where they don't necessarily have a role in the money economy through being a cook or a gardener, then we can also potentially reduce the violence in our society.
So is that feeling like frustrating or just a lot of work? Does it feel like a little overwhelming or?
Well, we're feeling really good about what we have to offer, and we're still working on how we're going to share the understanding that people will need for the project to be successful.
Okay, so it sounds like you're optimistic.
Yes.
Okay, you're optimistic. Cool, great. And yeah, I totally agree. And gosh, I was going to teach permaculture classes behind the earth at the garden, but then COVID-19 happened. So I've been like making little videos and like showing people what I'm doing, but like no one's watching them. I'm trying to teach people what you're saying. Like that's what I wanted to do. And like that garden is a perfect example because like I don't weed. There's no such thing as a weed. You know, I harvest and I mulch. And sometimes I harvest the leaves of the non-food producing plants to mulch with, but that doesn't mean I'm weeding. It's not the same thing. And it looks pretty wild.
Yeah, no tilling, no composting, no weeds, no pests.
Exactly. And that can take a while to beat into people's heads. Honestly. Okay, cool. We're on the same page. Okay, next question. What does regenerative mean to you?
Okay. Well, let's say that the living system is a pattern of interactions among the living things in any given space, right? And that living system can be at one end of a continuum or the other. The one end of the continuum we think of as sterile and barren because we've killed off almost everything that could have possibly been living there. At the other end of the continuum are the most beautiful places you've ever seen. And those are healthy places because they have all of their niches filled. They have a complete set of organisms, plants, animals, fungi, and bacteria that are cycling carbon and building fertility into themselves, cycle over cycle. Where we are right now is, I don't think, maybe even halfway towards beautiful. We've done so much damage to the earth where we're living that we don't want to sustain it at that level. We want to regenerate it to a level much further up the continuum. And, you know, we're perfectly capable of figuring out how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. My Google Doc's doing that thing again. I wonder if it's because I turned off the syncing. I paused the syncing. You would think that would make it better. Oh, great. Now my backup in sync. Yeah, please quit. Stop trying to upload everything, and then maybe I'll be able to type. Lovely. Maybe I'll have to use something other than Google Docs because it's trying to like connect to the server and not doing it. Okay. Well, isn't that lovely? Give me a minute. Let me see if I can fix that. Let's go to LibreOffice. Oh, nope. Can't do that either. I'm having a lovely time. Okay. Well, it stopped doing the blinky thing, so. I think I might just have to give up on the notes for now. That's no good. Which means I don't even. Okay. Sorry. Let me just reorganize what I'm doing here. Let's see. Is there anybody in the chat room? Have they been saying anything? I don't see anyone. Hello, people in the chat room, if you're there. You can say hello to us while we try to open Google Docs on another page here. I need this untitled document. And, okay. Interesting. Even though I had backup and sync turned off, supposedly, it still updated everything that I've been typing for the last little bit. So Google lies. They just lie. Okay, I got the last of what you said. We're good. We're going to keep moving forward. I can switch to, I have two computers, so I can switch to the other one if that stops working. Okay. So, yeah, what does your organization do that sets you apart from your competition? I guess this question is meant to be kind of in a marketing sense. Like, how would you market this as being different from other kinds of landscaping or whatnot? What would you say to customers?
Well, first of all, we don't have a lot of customers. We don't do a lot of fundraising.
Mm-hmm.
We will accept donations, but we don't solicit them. Oh, well, I mean, not effectively anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically, I'm funding the organization, and that's fine with me, because I don't have to answer to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I can pursue these ideas wherever they lead me instead of having to fit into some sort of grant requirement or something.
Mm-hmm.
How we are different is that we are working directly with solutions instead of the whole advocacy part of the nonprofit world. We are not giving handouts to people as the whole charitable aspect of the nonprofit world. Not that that's bad, not that advocacy is bad, but what we're trying to do is develop practical solutions for individual human beings to take that next step in their own evolution. And then we as a community hopefully take that next step. So I don't know as we have any competitors in that respect. So.
Okay. I see. Cool. Okay. I just closed my notes window because it's totally not working. And can I... Sorry. I'm just removing that screen because it's just annoying at this point. I'll figure out something better for next time, but I can still take my notes. And if people in the audience want them, then I can give it to them later. Okay. So, solutions. Okay. Okay. So for your customers, and these would be the homeowners, I suppose,
Yes.
What experience do you want them to have? How do you want it to seem to them?
Well, I want them to experience gardening in a new way, being experienced gardening or their landscape. They don't have to grow food. We want to experience their landscape as something that they can go out and enjoy nature instead of having to fight against nature. And it's a long, slow process. So I tell my gardeners, what you're up against is a homeowner that has this picture in their mind, like the one in Better Homes and Gardens, about what their landscape should look like. But nature doesn't work that way, and neither does the landscapes in Better Homes and Gardens. That picture, they had just gone through and mowed the lawn and deadheaded all the flowers and trimmed all the bushes. And the minute the picture was taken, it began to change because nature is in succession all the time. And so we can have a much healthier relationship if we just understand that things are going to start small and grow and make room for additional things as you establish one set of plants and animals, you can create the niches for other sets of plants and animals to be able to join into your landscape. And of course, all of that is based on the fungi and bacteria in your soil. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what we would like our gardeners to be able to share with the homeowners is a joy of gardening instead of thinking of gardening as a lot of work.
Okay. What about information? I mean, because I don't think they're going to get it if they don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to get out a microscope and show them the soil, to get it with some people. You know what I mean? Like, is there an educational component and would it be the gardeners that are educating the homeowners, or how would that work?
Well, we're going to have to work that out. I mean, right now, our biggest marketing for this is to have people come to the Living Systems Institute and look at our gardens.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and we're posting pictures of um, what we're doing all the time. And the biggest part of it is making that connection that what we're producing here, we have done no tilling and no composting, and
Mm-hmm.
we haven't done any weeding, and we haven't used any pesticides.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we get these gardens producing these wonderful plants, and often too wild for the taste of some of the homeowners. But all of that is done with letting nature do the work instead of us doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
So that, yeah, I mean, it's a hard sell to some people.
Mm-hmm.
Same way as not using poisons is a hard sell to some people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like showing them finished gardens, you'd probably be marketing to people who'd already like visited your institute or already know about permaculture, maybe not going after the typical homeowner so much as going after people who are already kind of interested in it and have maybe done a little bit of searching, or at least been introduced to it. Is that maybe more the direction?
Well, so that's the easy direction.
Uh-huh.
What I would like to be able to figure out is so in our cultural norms, right?
Uh-huh.
There are people that think of themselves as gardeners.
Uh-huh.
Those are the people that like to go out there and do a lot of work. They like to be out in their yard mowing and trimming and fertilizing and spreading herbicides and all that sort of good stuff. And those are the people that our culture thinks of as the experts. And there's a whole nother set of homeowners who just think that's the way they have to do it, and they're not enthusiastic about it. So if I could find a way to say there is an option where you don't have to go the whole uh, destroy nature and control it way, and do a let nature do the work way, that's going to be even more satisfying
Mm-hmm.
than what you. If I could find a way to reach those homeowners, and that's the challenge really.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They need somebody in their neighborhood that they trust that is also doing it, and with good results. And that's why we'd like to have a lot more gardeners helping a lot more homeowners.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to deal with because you've also got HOAs to deal with. You've got city ordinances to deal with. I don't know how bad Denver is about like you can't have plants in your garden taller than this height, or you can't have more than your percentage of your yard as a garden. Those kind of rules. And even if the city's lax, then there's still HOAs that can be really
Yeah,
a pain.
it varies by jurisdiction and by development, of course.
Yeah.
But on the whole, we're pretty good here. You can
Uh,
most places you can have chickens in most places.
yeah.
You can have it pretty good. So
Yeah. Norman's kind of in between on that. Okay, cool. So what would you like this to look like eventually, as far as like how big, like what are your financial goals? How many people would you want to have working in this, maybe 10 years from now?
Sure. The ultimate goal is that every citizen in every neighborhood would own part of this productive capacity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we call it a community investment enterprise,
Mm-hmm.
where we as a community are investing in the capacity to produce the food, shelter, education. No, I have to say it right now. So it's food, shelter, learning, health, belonging, and purpose that
Mm-hmm.
we as individuals
Yeah, I
need to
got that list.
thrive.
Uh-huh.
And we can produce. I mean, that's in the uh, mission statement or whatever you put up first.
Mm-hmm.
Is we as a community can produce all of that stuff for ourselves without having to buy it in the market
Mm-hmm.
if we invest in the capacity to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do make that investment, then we will have healed nature and produce abundance and provided a place for human beings to have a productive role in our society that they don't now because they don't have any marketable skills.
Mm-hmm.
Those types of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Pulling a lot of carbon out of the atmosphere.
Right. That doesn't answer my question. How many people do you want working for you in 10 years? Give me a number.
A number. As many as possible.
I know, I understand that, but like, I don't know. Like, I mean, okay, yes, we might have to sit down and do some projections. Okay, if you train this many people per year, if you take on this many customers, you have to extrapolate, at the rate of growth, and we haven't figured that out yet. But I mean, just like with you personally overseeing without having replicated or like fractionated this off at all, like how many, yeah, I guess I don't even know much about your role yet in this, like I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to get some idea of the scope.
Well, so it could go a number of different ways, right?
Uh-huh.
And in terms of my role, I would just be consultant. I wouldn't even need to be paid. So all of the gardeners and all the cooks doing the actual work, they're the ones that are in control of the money. But how many gardeners do we need to do change all of the landscapes in the metropolitan Denver area into the type of gardening that we're talking about?
Right.
We're talking about thousands of people. Now, that doesn't be one organization. We could have multiple organizations of cook and gardener partnerships that scale out at whatever level works for, for the people.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like almost like in your role, you're more a consultant and educator, and these could be little neighborhood organizations. There could be dozens of them that you help set up. Is that more like, okay. So that makes sense. That makes sense.
So there's also an economy of scale in that, right? So there's a blog post that I wrote called Vertically Integrated in Chickens. And if we're going to be providing chickens, producing our own chickens to provide homeowners to raise their own chickens so they have their own eggs, and then processing all those chickens, then there's certain economies of scale where an organization of several hundred cooks and gardeners might make sense. So, but somewhere in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems like you're more wanting to create a model that other people can take and create and replicate. And so it's hard to say how big it's going to get because it just depends on how many other people are actually going to take this model and run with it.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay. That makes sense. It's kind of what I was wanting to do. Maybe we should do it.
We should.
Yeah.
Everybody can be involved. We don't have to. We don't have to restrict it in any way because it can also always expand.
Yeah, totally. I think we just need to figure out what the model is that makes it financially sustainable, so people don't get burned out and can do it as a livelihood. Yeah, that needs to be done. That sounds awesome. Okay, so currently, who are the other stakeholders that you already have involved, and what do they bring to the table?
Other stakeholders. Well, we have a board of directors, which are people that are interested in what we're doing and have done some of this on their own. We have a number of people who have expressed themselves as interested in being gardeners, and 2 of them actually have clients. We have homeowners that are dissatisfied with their own ability to create the kinds of landscapes that we're talking about, and are waiting for us to find gardeners for them. And then it's just a matter of increasing both of those pools of stakeholders, as you call them. Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, is it that the gardeners you currently have can't take on any more clients, or are those clients too far away? I mean, why don't they take on those clients?
Right. So if you're going to be if you're going to be doing 4 hours work a month, for that $100. Then you want all of your clients to be in a short distance.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, when you start adding in the travel time, it becomes more than part-time work.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of doing here in Norman, because it's a small town, I can get around everywhere by bike. So it would make sense here. But yeah, Denver's huge. And you can spend a good 45 minutes driving across town. So that would be more challenging. Yeah, you have to totally create these little neighborhood kind of things. I guess you have different areas of town, different neighborhoods you call things. So,
or a gardener could have an area that they did on Monday and a different area they did on Tuesday.
Sure, that could work. Yeah, but you'd have to have multiple to make it worth going all the way to a different neighborhood, right? Yeah, right. So it is kind of an economy of scale / maybe just focusing okay, we have a gardener in this neighborhood, so we need to do a lot of marketing in this neighborhood to get enough people for them, or something like that.
The other thing so the 4 hours a month could be a 4-hour project for each homeowner once a month, or it could be dropping by each homeowner an hour every week. And that's going to change by a season and by what stage the homeowner's property is in. So we're going to create a succession from old-fashioned resource-intensive lawn to thriving habitat.
Totally.
Slow and small solutions.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. What do you think some of these other stakeholders' needs are? The gardeners, I guess specifically, is probably the easiest. How much money do you think they want to make doing this? Would they want to do this just part-time or do it full-time?
Well, and we want to stay flexible. So the basic idea is expressed as $100 a month for 4 hours work. And that works out to be the 20 hours a week for $2,000 a month. Right? So that's half-time work. And then we can spend the other half-time doing either a different job or building greenhouses and chicken coops and other types of things where they could be charging a time and materials type fee.
Okay. So this would be a full-time job. It's just that they'd only be spending half of it running around between these different lawns, because that's kind of probably hard to do. And then the rest of the time they could just stay in one place and work on a greenhouse or chicken farm or something like that, right?
Sure.
Okay. That's cool. That sounds good. And do you have stuff going on in one location where you could have people working?
Well, they could always come here to learn how to do that. And then, like I say, we do have the one gardener has, I think, 5 clients, although maybe only 3 of them are active right now. And then the other gardener just started, and has the one client paying her $100 a month. And we just put her in touch with another lady through the Facebook group who liked what we were talking about. And so it is in her neighborhood, and so she's going to explore that possibility.
Okay, awesome. Great. Yeah. Do you have access to other land or something? Or, do you plan on working with somebody to get a larger piece of property that you could use for more greenhouses and stuff?
No, we would want to put the greenhouses in the yards of the homeowner clients.
Oh, okay.
So each homeowner not each homeowner, any homeowner who wanted one we'd build them a greenhouse and a chicken coop.
Okay.
And then the homeowner can do that daily maintenance part of it, right?
Okay.
Feed the chickens and make sure that the water levels in the aquaponic systems are accurate or whatever. But so particularly in a food desert, what people are missing is that protein in fresh vegetables. Starches come cheap. And so if we're going to increase the nutritional and the health of our community without having to, stimulate the economy, and without the economic growth, that's the other alternative, then we need to start producing those things for ourselves. And, with a chicken coop and a greenhouse, there would be both enough for the homeowner and something for the gardener to take back.
Yeah, I'm imagining, like, you talk about food deserts, and the other guy I'm going to talk to for the podcast, he's in LA, and he was talking about helping people in food deserts and the food inequality. But a lot of those people are renting, or even renting apartments. So it's like, I wonder if there's some way to maybe even work with landlords or apartment complexes to put up greenhouses or something. And because I lived in an apartment complex in Boulder where, we kept wanting to build a greenhouse for our little community in the apartments to use, but they didn't really want to trust a bunch of random renters because you'd leave, right? So, but if you had a nonprofit who was managing it, then you might actually be able to have like apartment complexes be like, oh, sure, yeah, take that lawn over there, build a huge greenhouse, go ahead. I wonder if that might be a possibility.
Well, I'm sure that would be a possibility. And the other possibility is that if you had a group of gardeners, each with their 20 clients, and their side projects building greenhouses, then they can also pool their resources to invest in a property where then they could raise their chickens and do their plant stocks and all the other things that they can then pass on to their clients.
Yeah.
So you have the opportunity of investing in the capacity to provide that shelter for ourselves, as well as increasing the capacity to produce food and things.
Yeah. I like how, with the general landscaping idea, it's not the typical permaculture attitude of let's go buy a piece of land and then we'll have our perfect farm. It's like starting with what can we actually get people to pay us to use, instead of buying land, how about we get them to pay us to use their land, it's kind of turning it around. And I wonder if there's more other ways to do that, or at least use space for free. And if you have a 501, that might not be that hard. Churches, all sorts of public land, there's lots of land available. Not everybody needs to go out and buy a farm. I'm always telling people that because they always want to buy a farm and then they end up not being able to pay for it.
Yeah, then you have to be a farmer.
Yeah.
Or have another job and then also do all the work for the farm.
Well, I mean, usually they end up spending all of their money just to buy the property, and they don't have enough money to, spend on farm equipment and stuff, and have to get another job, and then don't have enough time, and blah, blah, blah. It's like the same story every time. It's like, let's do something different. So I like your idea. It's better.
Well, and so selling whole foods, there really is no profit in that because farmers can outproduce their demand on a regular basis. That's why farming is subsidized. And that's why food is scarce then, is because you can't produce it without getting the subsidy. But if you're producing it for yourself and your clients, then we don't worry about what the market value is.
Right. And if you can use the land for free, then that takes away a big chunk of the money that you usually have to bring in from selling it.
But a tomato in January is worth a lot of money if it's good tomato.
Yeah.
But in August, people are giving away tomatoes because everybody's got them.
Yeah, totally.
That's the way the market works.
Cool. Okay, next question. What resources do you have? What resources do you need?
So what we have in the way of resources is, 16 years now of experience and failures and successes and lots of experiments and actually changing our relationships with the living things around us. And developing integrated closed loop production systems. What we don't have is a way to show people how they can get involved and how that makes sense for their change in lifestyle or whatever it is, changing their own relationships. That it doesn't have to be what tearing down your property values or whatever reason why you wouldn't do, why you would change from traditional landscaping techniques. Or that you don't want to get involved in gardening in any way because it's a lot of work and whatever we need. So we need some way, we need help getting past that. So I wrote a series of, I call them lessons, and I guess they are lessons. They called the Agents of Habitat series. And one of those series talks about carbon cycling. And so there's a little story there about changing the way you look at the world from yourself as an individual human being to thinking about what it looks like from the point of view of a carbon atom, and how the carbon atom is sucked into the stoma of a leaf and cycles through bacterias and plants and fungi and mushrooms and is eaten by this and shat out of that and ends up as an egg that is eaten by the farmer and cruising through the veins of the farmer and it comes to a muscle cell and the muscle cell contracts. And there's a couple of oxygen buddies and here I am ready for another adventure. So that story, that Carbon Adventures should be a 2-minute short or a 5-minute short. And so it would be great to have somebody that had the skills to do that sort of animated video type thing, or better storytellers than the way I tell it. But just to create that understanding that why our culture is unsustainable and how easy it is to make it a sustainable culture, a regenerative culture.
Okay, so you've got experience, knowledge, some lessons you've already put together, but what about concrete materials, space? You said you have a location where you've got some gardens, right?
Yeah, we have an
demonstration.
An acre and a third where we have the greenhouses and the chicken coop and the deep mulch gardens.
Okay, so like a 1 acre demonstration garden with, you said greenhouse, chickens, deep mulch garden.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And do you have some funds to put in this for like marketing or anything like that?
Right now the funds are, pay for the website and web hosting and the insurance for the gardeners and
insurance for gardeners
and things like that. We're asking the gardeners to give us 5% of what they bring in.
Okay.
And that doesn't cover the insurance or things like that, but that could be different if we had more gardeners.
Okay. So you are asking them to pay a percentage. Definitely makes sense to cover insurance. But you don't have any funding you're planning on spending for like marketing to find more homeowners, or is that something you might want to fundraise for?
We could do that, or we could fundraise for equipment for the gardeners.
Okay. So you could fundraise money for marketing and equipment. Cool. Yeah, I mean, when I thought it through, I was thinking it would be cool to have a pool of money to buy equipment that the homeowners could lease, like having like watering hoses and timers so that we could set it up so that it could just be automatically, watered so that the homeowners don't even have to worry about it. I mean, some homeowners are like traveling and stuff, and like you don't want it to die while they're out of town, right? So you'd want to set it up as well as you could, maybe a compost tumbler or whatever. And if you could have them just paying a little extra per month and, not have to buy all that stuff up front, that would be cool. But you'd have to have the funds to buy that equipment ahead of time, if that makes sense. Kind of one idea I had, or greenhouses, for example, like they could be on a payment plan, instead of having to come up with it all from the beginning. But you'd have to have funds
Sure.
for that. Cool. Okay, so where are we at? We still have like 8 minutes. I have 2 questions left, so we're getting there. Okay. So what is your biggest challenge right now?
My biggest challenge is, how do I put this? The authority that we're doing things differently than the experts are doing it, right? And not only just the experts in agriculture or the experts in landscaping, we're doing it differently than the experts in permaculture, for example. So if you wanted to, if you decided that you wanted to set up a victory garden, you would think, well, who should I find out? Who should I talk to about how to do that? And then in Colorado, you would go find a master gardener who is certified by the Colorado State University. And the first thing they would tell you is you must prepare your soil. Which
double dig. Till. Got to pull up all that grass.
So they have to. What we're up against is that expertise that says that we have to. We have to destroy our relationships around us.
Yeah. Right. I try to be patient, but sometimes I tell people things like, "Don't stop pulling out that grass," and then they keep doing it. I'm just like, I told you to stop. Like, yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Like, they don't believe you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's so that's why we focus on the demonstration. We were doing community gardens for a while. And trying to explain deep mulch gardenings to the community gardeners. And we had some successes, but we also had a lot of situations where people would hear about half of what I was saying. And they were, the other half, they knew for certain that this is the way you do gardening.
Yeah.
Because that's what they've always known.
Yeah.
And so halfway between a deep mulch garden and a traditional garden doesn't work out well for anyone.
No, it doesn't. No, I totally agree.
I make people come and see my gardens now. So that at least they don't, at least they know it's possible.
Yeah. I did a community garden network at one point, and we would go to a different person's house every weekend. And we'd spend like 3 hours gardening at least and have a potluck. And yeah, I imagine something like that, like having a class, it's a workshop, and showing people, getting them hands-on, and then, going all the way through the process of like building those beds with people, and then showing them the final product, or starting out by showing them the final product, so that they really see it and get it, and making them, go through the entire process and having a process. This is the way we do it. So being like, okay, you put on this many inches of compost, you put on this many inches of mulch, and just like being super specific about it. Like, I know that there's a million ways to do it, but I kind of feel like if you want to train up a group of people to do it and want them to do it right, you kind of have to like give them a process or something. I don't know. That's what I was thinking. It's like, okay, we're going to do it this way for these gardens. We're going to use this kind of mulch.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited about the Cook and the Gardener program is I can focus just on these gardeners who are interested in learning this technique.
Okay. So yeah, tell me a little bit more about this program. So this is like so you already thought about doing like an educational program?
Yeah, well, so we have an internship program here at LSI all the time. Anybody who wants to come by and learn what we're doing, we're happy to. We're always doing projects, so we're always happy to have people come and help us. Today I was building a new chicken run, so. But then we're also always building new gardens and always renewing the existing gardens. And so I try to get my gardeners to come and actually do the work here when I can answer all their questions. But then they're always finding unique situations when they're out at the homeowner's site, right? So they also have the ability to call me and talk about specific issues. So that's our training program, such as it is.
Okay. But are you wanting to expand that to be more? Maybe not sure exactly what yet.
Well, ideally we would have, I don't know exactly how that works out financially, but you'd have each one teach one organization where the more experienced people would take new people under their wing and get them to a point where they're competent to go out and represent homeowners of their own. And then develop best practices as an organization.
Yeah, and doing gardening work, I don't know, some people are different. Some people are very introverted and like working on their own, but I think most people prefer to do that kind of work with another person. So having like a little intern take along with you on all the routes or something. Maybe the intern is volunteering. So maybe you have people who are in the program who are learning and they're volunteering. And then you have the people who are being paid who have already been through the program, and everybody, has a buddy.
Right.
Something like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Okay. So last question. How much planning have you done, business planning kind of, have you done so far, and what do you need to do next?
So I have written a business plan for Pat the Gardener, and I haven't actually written the one for the cooks because because we're kind of stuck there. We don't need cooks unless we've got food to give to them. And so I've done a lot of research in terms of what do they call it? Horizontal organizations, where all the participants would be the ones, and everybody would have a say in how the organization is run instead of a hierarchical organization. And so I haven't written down exactly how that works because part of that is what works well, and that I can't make those decisions for the gardeners. Right? So our biggest challenge still comes back to getting more people involved.
Cool. Yeah, I've done a fair bit of research in that area as well. I mean, I'm the biggest fan of sociocracy and holacracy, although, holacracy is a little bit nerdy more for tech people, but could be. The principles are solid. The exact rules maybe could be tweaked depending on the situation. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's not totally horizontal where like everybody has an equal vote. It's more about extreme delegation. Like you have this job of very clearly define what your job is, and you can just do it. We're not going to tell you how to do your job, and then there's certain decisions like who does what that we do decide democratically together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then add to that the goal of the organization is that everybody steps up in their skill levels, cycle over cycle. Everybody is always learning.
Evolutionary development, having requirements. Yeah, there's a lot. I think it does really depends on the context and what works best. So yeah, you're right. Like you can't necessarily plan all that out ahead of time. You just kind of have to pick somewhere to start though, and then evolve from there. So yeah, that's my approach. So now that we're done with the questions, a little bit about me and what I do and what I can offer you from here forward. I'm all about creating evolutionary systems. So it's not like I have one exact way to do things. I mean, I do have some kind of favorite tools and whatnot, like cooperatives and holacracy, but I think it really depends on the situation. Cooperatives aren't for every situation. So, I do have a set of principles that I list on my website that I go by, and I have a business model canvas that we could fill out that addresses all of those various principles, make sure that we're doing good for people, planet, and profit, that all the basic parts of a business plan are in place as well. And I've read a lot of books about like lean startup and entrepreneurship, and the way to think about a business from the perspective of the customer and stuff like that we could look at to, really have a clear idea of where you're starting from, and then what systems you're going to use to evolve from there. So feedback loops, creating those feedback loops. What does that look like? How often does that happen? So it's all about like creating your process for experimentation in this business. Is it, are you on a weekly cycle or a monthly cycle, and what are the different processes and tools you're using? Would be kind of the focus of it. And yeah, that, I don't know, I'm kind of rambling at this point, but basically, if you want to keep going, I'm happy to. I'm really excited about your project. And we could just do some more of these meetings, and I would be asking you questions about specific parts of the business model, and then I would take your answers and I would fill out the canvas with kind of bullet points. And I mean, it sounded like you already have a business plan, so you could show that to me so I could know what you already have, and then I would tailor the questions to answer what I don't understand or I think could go into more detail and that sort of thing. And I could also use what you've already got to fill that in. And maybe we wouldn't have to have as many sessions if you've already got a lot of it figured out. But yeah, I'd really like to work on this with you. And I think that, what we come up with might be something that I could even replicate here. And maybe some of my other clients could replicate, and some of the people watching this could replicate. So yeah, I'd love to just go through it with you so that we can get all the details down and be able to share it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. That makes sense. All right. So we are at 6:04 and we've done it. Thank you so much, David, for joining me. And I really look forward to the next time. I will try to work out some of the bugs, like with my Google Docs, and make this work better. And I will share the notes that I took with you. And also, for anyone who watches this, I have a Patreon page. It's Regenerative Revolution, patreon.com/Regenerative Revolution. And if you want to support me for as little as, I think, $3 a month I put down, then you can also have access to these notes, and also updates on what I'm doing. And the other tiers have other benefits as well. So just check out Patreon. And David, do you want to plug your website or anything? Let people know where you're at.
Sure. I mean, we've got a lot of information on the website. That is livingsystemsinst.org, because the one with the institute spelled out was already taken. And both the Agents of Habitat and links to the blogs are there. And I will send you links to what I've talked about in terms of what we have in the way of planning for how it might work out in the future.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I'll see you next time.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.